Under the blistering sun of Manila, a young boy stood by the roadside, strumming a guitar with strings older than his memories. His voice floated over the chaos of traffic and chatter, weaving through the dusty air like a forgotten melody. Most people walked past without looking, yet those who paused felt something stir deep within them. What makes a voice powerful? Is it the perfection of notes, or the pain behind them? Rafael had never known comfort. His world was a mosaic of cracked pavements, second-hand dreams, and his grandmother's fading smile. Each coin that fell into his tin can meant a little more rice for dinner, a little less hunger that night. But when he sang, he was not poor. In those fleeting moments, he belonged to something bigger than the streets, something divine. Yet fate, cruel and kind in equal measure, had other plans for the boy with the golden voice. One afternoon, a tourist uploaded a short clip of him singing Hotel California. Within days, the internet caught fire. Millions watched. Thousands shared. And somewhere in London, a man known for breaking stars and hearts alike, Simon Cowell, paused mid-scroll. Could a barefoot boy from the streets of Manila truly shake the world? The question lingered like an unfinished note. Somewhere, destiny was tuning its strings, preparing for a performance that would not just change a life, but remind the world that beauty can rise from the dust. As the sun set over the slums, Rafael closed his eyes and whispered a silent prayer, not for fame, not for fortune, but for one chance. Just one stage where his voice could finally be heard. The world was about to listen. Rafael had always been a quiet soul, one of those children who carried entire worlds behind their eyes. Born in the heart of Manila's slums, he learned early that life doesn't hand you melodies, you have to find them in the noise. His days began before sunrise, when the air still smelled of last night's rain and the sound of jeepneys rattled through narrow alleys. He would sling his old, chipped guitar over his shoulder, a gift from a church volunteer years ago, and walk barefoot to the plaza. There, between vendors and beggars, he sang. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried something that made people turn their heads. It was raw, aching, and honest, like the streets themselves were singing through him. Every coin he earned was counted carefully, saved in a small jar hidden under a loose wooden plank in their hut. Some days, the jar filled enough for rice and a few vegetables. Other days, it stayed nearly empty, and he and his grandmother, Lola Maria, went to sleep on empty stomachs. Still, Lola never complained. She would stroke Rafael's hair and tell him that God hides his brightest stars in the darkest skies. Rafael believed her. That faith was what kept him singing even when the crowd ignored him, even when hunger made his voice tremble. He had simple habits that comforted him, strumming his guitar before dawn, sketching music notes in the dirt with a stick, watching the city lights blink like distant dreams. He would often sit on the roof of their tiny shack, imagining what it would be like to stand under real lights, the kind that shine on stages, not on billboards. Despite everything, Rafael never lost his softness. He smiled easily, even at strangers. He helped other street kids fix their makeshift instruments. But behind that gentle nature was a longing that grew stronger every day, a quiet yearning to be seen, to be heard, and to prove that even a boy born in silence could fill the world with song. The rainy season came early that year, washing through the streets of Manila like a sad song. The narrow alleyways where Rafael sang turned into small rivers, and the plaza, his tiny stage, was drowned beneath gray water. With his guitar tucked inside a torn plastic bag, he watched helplessly as days passed without music, without coins, without food. But the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm growing inside him. Lola Maria had fallen ill. Her cough, once soft and harmless, now echoed through the night like a cruel reminder of their struggle. Medicines were expensive, even warm soup became a luxury. Rafael sat beside her one evening, his eyes tracing the cracks on the wall as she slept. He felt a heaviness he couldn't name, the feeling of watching the only person who ever believed in him slowly fade. He tried to keep singing in the rain, standing under awnings or abandoned stalls, but the city seemed too busy to listen. The same streets that once gave him comfort now felt cold and empty. Every time his guitar string snapped, it felt like a piece of his hope breaking too. In those silent nights, Rafael questioned everything. Why was life so unfair? Why did people like him, kind, poor, and forgotten, have to fight so hard just to be heard? He missed the days when his grandmother's humming filled their small home. Now, the silence was unbearable. One night, after another failed day of singing, Rafael returned to find Lola unconscious. Panic ripped through him. He ran to neighbors, begged for help, but all he could do was hold her frail hand and whisper her favorite lullaby through tears. That night, she took her last breath, and with her, she carried away the only warmth Rafael had ever known. The next morning, Manila was quiet. The boy with the golden voice sat on the curb, his guitar beside him, and for the first time, he didn't sing. He had lost his reason to. Rafael's journey from the slums of Manila to the glittering lights of Los Angeles felt unreal, like living inside a dream too fragile to touch. The airplane windows reflected his wide, nervous eyes. He had never been so far from home, nor so close to everything he had ever wished for. Yet beneath the excitement, fear coiled deep within him. He missed his grandmother terribly. Every sound, the hum of engines, the chatter of strangers, reminded him of her gentle voice. She would have told him to be brave, to stand tall. But now, he had to carry her words in his heart. Alone. The first days were overwhelming. The rehearsals, the cameras, the endless instructions, it all blurred together. Surrounded by talented singers with polished clothes and confident smiles, Rafael felt small again, like the street boy no one noticed. He questioned himself 100 times. What if I'm not good enough? What if they laugh? But each time doubt crept in, he remembered his grandmother's hands, rough, warm, guiding his fingers along the guitar strings. She had taught him that music wasn't about perfection, it was about truth. So Rafael began to practice with that thought in mind, pouring every ounce of his pain, love, and faith into his song. Nights were the hardest. The loneliness returned, whispering that he didn't belong here. He would sit by the hotel window, looking at the city lights, so bright, so far from home, and whisper a quiet promise to Lola Maria, "I'll make you proud." The day before his audition, he visited a nearby park. He sat under a tree, clutching his guitar, and played softly to the wind. People stopped and listened. Some smiled, some cried. And in that moment, Rafael understood something profound: his music was never meant to make him rich or famous. It was meant to heal, to remind others that pain could still sound beautiful. He wasn't just a street boy anymore. He was a voice born from struggle, and now, he was ready to let the world hear it. The lights dimmed. The crowd quieted. 1,000 eyes watched as Rafael stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, clutching his worn-out guitar, the same one he had carried through the streets of Manila. The massive hall, the cameras, the judges, everything felt unreal. His heart pounded like a drum inside his chest. He looked small beneath the bright lights, a barefoot boy standing in a world of glitter and fame. Yet when he took a breath, the memory of Lola Maria's voice filled him with calm. He could almost hear her whisper, "Sing from your heart, Anak." Then, he began. The first notes of Hotel California echoed through the hall, soft and haunting. His voice trembled at first, but soon it soared, pure, raw, and filled with every tear he had ever shed. The room fell silent. Even Simon Cowell, known for his cold composure, leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the boy. As the song reached its chorus, Rafael's voice broke slightly, not from fear, but from emotion. Images flashed through his mind, his grandmother's gentle smile, the rain-soaked streets, the nights of hunger and hope. Each note carried those memories, transforming pain into something beautiful. When the final chord faded, there was silence, a heavy, sacred kind of silence. Then, suddenly, the hall erupted. The audience rose to their feet, clapping, cheering, some wiping tears from their eyes. One of the judges pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst from above, falling like blessings around him. Rafael stood frozen, tears streaming down his cheeks. For the first time, he wasn't invisible. He wasn't just a street boy. He was an artist, a miracle, a story that the world would never forget. Simon Cowell rose slowly, his expression softening. For a brief moment, the man who had seen thousands of performers seemed speechless. He simply nodded, a quiet gesture of respect, as if to say, "You've done it, kid." As the golden lights shimmered above, Rafael looked up, beyond the cameras, beyond the noise, and whispered a silent thank you to the sky. He knew Lola Maria was watching. When the stage lights dimmed and the cheers faded, Rafael stood backstage in quiet disbelief. The confetti still clung to his hair, his hands trembled, and his heart felt light, lighter than it had in years. In that silence, he realized something profound. It wasn't the stage, the applause, or even the golden buzzer that made this moment special. It was the journey that brought him here, the hunger, the loss, the faith, and the music that refused to die. The boy who once sang for coins on a broken street corner had now sung for millions. But deep inside, he was still the same Rafael, the boy who believed that music could make pain meaningful. He didn't need riches or fame. All he ever wanted was for someone to listen, and now, the whole world had heard him. In the days that followed, messages poured in from across the globe. People wrote to him, saying his song had reminded them of their own struggles, of lost parents, forgotten dreams, and the courage to keep going. Rafael smiled through tears, realizing that his voice had become more than sound, it had become a bridge between hearts. Every night, before sleeping, he looked out the window of his small apartment in Los Angeles and whispered the same words, "Thank you, Lola." Her love had carried him through the darkest nights, teaching him that even broken strings can still play the sweetest songs. His story became a reminder to millions, that greatness isn't born from comfort, it's born from pain, perseverance, and faith. That even when life steals everything away, it can never silence the music within. Somewhere, in the streets of Manila, another child might be singing tonight, barefoot, hungry, but hopeful. And maybe, just maybe, Rafael's voice will reach them through the noise, whispering softly. Don't stop singing. Someone, somewhere, will listen. And that is how a boy with nothing left to lose found everything he had ever been searching for, not in fame, but in the hearts he touched.